Hello everyone, I am MNB Achari. Welcome back to ESL Drill. This is part 2 of WH questions. In the first part, we learned how to use some WH questions. In this video, we will learn a few more with example sentences. Shall we begin? Here we go. In part 1, we covered these. Let me remind you what we learned. We learned how to use who, whom, what, when, where, why, whose, which. I mentioned how, but I didn't explain that. We'll learn that in this video. Okay, let's begin with the first one, how. Now, how can be used to question about way or method or manner of action. So, how a particular action happened, in what manner. This can also be used to question about condition or situation or state. We'll look at the examples and understand that. Look at this first one here. She walked gracefully. Now here the underlined word is gracefully. Now this word describes the word walked. Walked is a verb. So we have to find a question, make a question to get this word as the answer. We can use how like this. How did she walk? Just like I explained to you in the first part of WH question series, walked V2 can be split into did and walk. So did plus V1. V2 is equal to did plus V1. So how did she walk? Let's look at another example. He thoughtfully looked at the sun for a moment. Thoughtfully. Now this word thoughtfully describes the manner in which the action happened. What is that action that happened? Looked at the sun. Okay, how can the question be? How did he look at the sun for a moment? See here, thoughtfully is the word. Now to get this word as the answer, we have used this question. How did he look? Again, looked is verb 2, did look, and we put the subject between them. How did he look at the sun for a moment? Now the third example. This time let's talk about using how in order to talk about condition, situation, state. The house was splendid. Now it can be like condition, the state. Then you can use the question like this. How was the house? There's no action mentioned here. How was the house? So you can put was here after how, and then the house can be used here. How was the house? Splendid. That is the answer. But there is something here. Let's look at it. It was a splendid house. Now can you use how? Just think of it. Can you say how was it house A? No, it's not possible. It all becomes messy. Now, what kind of a house was it? So this can be used with such sentences. It was a splendid house. We have a noun going after this adjective, splendid adjective and house. Now with such sentences, if an adjective is underlined, we always use what kind of a house was it. For example, one more example. Murthy was intelligent. You can say, how was Murthy? Intelligent. Murthy was an intelligent boy. How can you ask now? You can't say, how was Murthy again. This time you have to say, what kind of a boy was Murthy? So remember this, what kind of. Let us move on. We'll know how to use how much. This how much is used to question about quantity. Amount, quantity, but with uncountable nouns. The noun should be uncountable. We should not be able to count that in terms of 1, 2, 3, like that. So, uncountable nouns. Look at this. She needs a lot of money to start a business. We cannot really count and say 1 or 2 or 3 here. A lot of. She needs a lot of money to start a business. Now, how can you ask a question? How much money does she need to start a business? How much money? So you can use how much and add money here, because that is not underlined, we have to use. How much money does she need? Needs, we learned it in the first part. Needs is verb 1 plus s. It can be divided into does and need. You can put the subject between them. Now, how much money does she need to start a business? Now, how many? To question about quantity, this time with countable nouns. See here. Now, when we use question, the answer that we get is something that can be counted, like 1, 2, 3, 4. See, 13 people have died in this village. Now, the focus word or the focus number here is 13. We can count, that's a number. Now, you can use how many. How many people have died in this village? I haven't changed anything here. This is in present perfect tense. Have died. We use the same thing here. Have died. How many people have died in this village? Because we are talking about the subject. Now let's look at using how long. This how long can be used to question about time. When you ask about maybe minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. We usually do not mention minutes, hours. We generally say how long. And the listener can answer with minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, etc. Look at an example here. They will stay here for 3 days. They will stay here for 3 days. This is the time period mentioned here. So you can use how long. How long will they stay here? Look at this here. The only change I have made here is will. I put will at the beginning and then I used subject they. How long will they stay here? Don't say how long they will stay here. How long will they stay here is correct. Next one is how often. This can be used to question about frequency. By the way, frequency means the number of times something happens within a particular period of time, like in a week, in a month, in a year. Now, the words that are normally used with how often when you talk about frequency are these: always, normally, rarely, seldom, sometimes, occasionally, often, usually. These are called adverbs of frequency. Look at this example. He washes his car occasionally. Occasionally is the word. Now we can use how often. And the regular rule should be applied here. Washes is verb 1 plus es. It can be split into does plus wash. And you put subject in the middle. This is what you get. How often does he wash his car? Do not say washes. Does he wash? How often does he wash his car? Now the next one is again how often. The young hero meets his fans once a month. The young hero meets his fans. Now instead of occasionally I used once a month here. That's also frequency. How often does the young hero meet his fans? Meets can be split into does and meet, and the young hero's subject can be put in the middle. How often does the young hero meet his fans? Now one more thing, how far. This can be used to talk about distance. Look at this example. It is 2 kilometers to the station from here. So especially when we use this especially when we talk about the distance between two places. It is 2 kilometers to the station from here. The question can be this: how far is it to the station from here? Have you noticed the change that we have made? Yes, here. I used is at the beginning and the subject it after that. How far is it to the station from here? That's a basic rule about making questions. Helping verb at the beginning and then the subject. Now let's see how to use how old. We use how old to talk about age. Here is an example. The baby is 2 years old. Here the underlined word, underlined part is 2 years. That's the focus one here. The baby is 2 years old. We can ask the question using how old. How old is the baby? How old is the baby? Now we put is here and then the subject goes after it. How old is the baby? That's it. That's all in this video. We have learned how to use different WH questions. In the next video, I'll give you more examples. We'll discuss them in examination point of view. I'll help you with making questions easily. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I sincerely thank all of you for subscribing to the channel and encouraging me. Please share this video if you think it is useful. Until next video, bye.